Welcome to the Inspiring You Show. If we've ever met, I'm Henry. Hello, my friends. So we're going to be doing one of the energy themes from February 2025 energy forecast. And I'm going to be doing this because I feel like it's really important to talk about it and also to support tools because it's not just about February, it's any time that you possibly can use these tools. But first, let's take a moment to settle into the space and get into practice. So find a comfortable position, either laying down or seated. And then I invite you to close your eyes, lower your gaze if that feels soothing and if that feels okay. And then take a nice, deep, centering breath. Breathing in, inhaling clarity, and then exhaling distraction. And then let's take two more deep breaths, letting go of any external noise, any lingering tension from the day, the week, the month, the year, and allow yourself to be fully present in this moment. So, inhaling alignment, presence, awareness, exhaling confusion, doubt, external noise. And once again, let's do another one. Inhale, exhale, letting your body relax, your mind quiet, your energy recalibrate. Allowing yourself to feel the subtle shifts as your body relaxes, your mind quiets, and that energy is just recalibrating because you are here, you're present, you are tuning in, my friends, to your deepest wisdom. I may be speaking, but really you are calling to you your wisdom. This is your time to receive the wisdom for you, for your highest good. You're here and this is your moment. Okay, so we're also going to send Reiki if you wish to receive. So just say, yes, I'd like to receive Reiki for my highest good. If you don't, that's okay. Reiki always respects free will. So just taking another moment to take another deep breath. All right, my friends. So with that, you can sit back, relax, as we're going to do a mindful chat about the power of discernment. So, we're exploring the third theme from the February 2025 energy forecast. It was one of the seven themes designed to help navigate your month in February with clarity, self awareness, and alignment. And with these categories and themes, they really are to support you every day. It's not just one month in particular. It might be something is coming into the forefront for that month, but it's really everyday tools, which is why it just is valuable to talk about this and to discuss tools. So, if you're interested in any of the full energy forecasts, they're on the podcast or one of the YouTube episodes prior. So, they can offer complete perspective. But for now, let's just focus on this one powerful theme, the power of discernment. So, this February and just in general in life, it's really inviting us to refine our awareness, deepen our inner wisdom, and move through life with greater clarity and sovereignty. Really freeing ourselves from the past and being able to be in this liberation energy of full authenticity. Discernment is more than just about making like good decisions per se, it's an energetic practice, a refined awareness that allows us to sense the truth beneath surface appearances. So as you're moving through, whatever you're moving through, discernment can emerge as a guiding force. Discernment is not just a skill, it's an energetic practice. Again, it is the ability to perceive truth beneath illusion. It is the ability to perceive what is aligned and what is not. It is the practice of listening deeply to intuition rather than external noise. It is refined awareness that allows us to sense what is aligned and what is not. It is a practice of self honoring, sovereignty, and conscious choice. It is the skill of honoring your inner wisdom, even when the outside influences try to pull you in different directions. So we are being invited to be intentional with our thoughts, words, actions, pause before reacting, and listening deeply to inner wisdom, recognizing where your energy is flowing and what you are maybe feeding with your attention. Energy flows where attention goes. So, what are you placing your focus on? So, February and just in general in life, we are being called for careful awareness of what and whom we believe, where we are investing our energy, and how we shape our reality through thought and choice. So it's about then learning and understanding discernment, choosing wisely, aligning with clarity, and honoring the wisdom of your own knowing. And so, what you'll learn in this theme is how to cultivate discernment as an energetic practice and not just a mental skill. How to recognize when external influences are shaping your choices. Why emotional intuition is a sacred compass in times of confusion. How to beneficially, in the energy of love, protect your energy and reclaim sovereignty over your decisions. How to navigate the energy of reinvention without fear of uncertainty. So, how to cultivate discernment as an energetic practice, not just a mental skill. So, with this, then, it's really about discernment involves distinguishing between what aligns with your authentic self, your true self, and what doesn't. As an energetic practice, it means tuning into your inner sense of resonance or your innocence of resonance or dissonance with people, situations, and decisions. And by paying attention to how your body and energy responds to different stimuli, you can then develop a deeper intuitive sense of knowing what's most beneficial and right for you. And then how to recognize when external influences are shaping your choices. So, external influences can come from societal norms, peer pressure, media, or well meaning advice from loved ones, or anyone like practitioners, teachers, whoever it is. And by practicing mindfulness, you can then become more aware of what is happening, whether these influences are affecting your choices. And it might be beneficial for you in terms of inspiring and helping, or it could be that that advice might be for that person giving it, not so much for you. So that's where you have to discern between, what is really beneficial for me. Because you might have been on a path with somebody for a while, and then all of a sudden your path is going to the right and theirs is going to the left. It's not right, wrong, good or bad. It's the isness. We're here to learn, grow, and evolve. And we all can have uniqueness in the way our paths ebb and flow. So techniques like journaling, meditating, self-reflection can really help distinguish between your true desires and those imposed by external sources. Okay, so then why emotional intuition is a sacred compass in times of confusion. Emotional intuition, or the ability to sense your true feelings and inner guidance, acts as a sacred compass during uncertain times. By trusting your emotions and allowing them to guide your decisions, you can navigate complex situations with greater clarity and confidence. So, this sacred compass helps you then in terms of staying true to yourself and making choices that align with your highest good. If you are somebody who's an intuitive empath or somebody who's a highly sensitive person, oftentimes you have a frequency connection to emotions where your emotional intuition, you really can feel the frequencies of things, where you can sense the nature of true feelings. And so really letting yourself tap into that inner guidance and that wisdom to support you in your GPSing through life in a beneficial way, especially when there's times of confusion. So going within and learning how to tap into that sacred compass to really guide you, support you through it. Okay, the next one is how to protect your energy and reclaim sovereignty over your decisions. So protecting your energy, not out of fear, but really out of the energy of love and awareness, really involves learning how to set healthy boundaries and practicing self-care. And with healthy boundaries, that doesn't mean that you're so rigid or resistant to understanding that other people might have boundaries too. And so with this though, you're recognizing and honoring your energetic needs. You reclaim your sovereignty over your decisions, ensuring that your choices are in alignment with your authentic self. But remember, we are sharing a space. We are all in the same snow globe with each other, people. So that means I think sometimes when people are like, but I set my boundaries and something is happening where this person isn't respecting my boundaries. Well, they may have a different boundary that they feel like you're not hearing as well. So that's where you have to work on communication skills. That's a communication skill. And you have to work on communication skills to learn and listen to one another. And then how do we then both be able to, have boundaries and respect each other's boundaries and come to a peaceful resolution in terms of supporting one another's needs? Because remember, we're not just one in this. We're often dancing with partners in this snow globe that we are in. And by snow globe, I just mean that, when I think about the world and living, within this container of earth, I just think of like a snow globe, how sometimes it's really peaceful and then it gets shaken up and the snow is going everywhere and everyone's like, what's going on? And that's where you use your tools to reground, realign, and support yourself through it. Okay, so with that, then techniques like, energy clearing, grounding exercises, mindful detachment, in a beneficial way can help you maintain your energetic boundaries for your highest good. And remember, we're all in some sense, energy alchemists, but it's depending on where you are in the skill level is depending on how much you actually work with it. But everybody has the capabilities. And so everybody can transmute energy. It's just whether or not, you're working on it and understanding the skill level. Okay, so how to navigate the energy of reinvention without fear of uncertainty. Reinvention often involves stepping into the unknown, which can be daunting. Embracing uncertainty as a natural part of the growth process allows you to transform and evolve with grace. By cultivating a mindset of curiosity and openness, you can navigate the energy of reinvention with confidence. Trusting in your inner guidance, your ability to be discerning and staying present in the moment can help you find stability even if there's change, even if there's uncertainty. So this theme is really about harnessing that power of discernment, emotional intuition, and energy awareness to navigate life with greater clarity and empowerment with ease and grace. By integrating these practices into your daily life, you can make choices that resonate really with your authentic self and foster a deeper sense of alignment and fulfillment. So, how does this perspective on discernment and energy resonate with you? Are there specific practices or insights that you are interested in? So, you want to check in with yourself too to see like what does resonate with me. So, some of the other key themes and insights are a shift toward flow and clarity. With the transition into the Chinese year of the snake this year, we're encouraged to really release unnecessary struggle, surrender resistance, embrace a more fluid, intuitive way of moving through life. So, as we do, clarity begins to surface. Projects, relationships, or decisions that felt stagnant may now find momentum. And then by the end of February or going into March forward, there will be a new renewed sense of inspiration, flow, and forward movement. So that's where then the energy of discernment, really reclaiming your sovereignty. And because we are connecting to the year of the snake, it's also then you might be shedding skins, like a snake would in order for you to expand and grow. And with discernment, it really is an act of self-honoring. It's asking us to refine our awareness and becoming conscious of who and what is influencing our thoughts and choices, where our energy is being directed, what truly resonates with our heart's truth. And so this means then it's a really powerful time releasing outdated attachments, let go of external expectations that no longer support you, trust your intuition when confusion arises, because your emotional intuition is a sacred compass. As somebody who's an intuitive empath, my relationship to my emotions, like the emotional body, is so incredibly strong. And it has guided me through, like, sometimes, I'll give an example from my own life. Years ago when I worked in television, I was an executive producer in reality television. I worked in reality television for over 20 years. And part of that job as a producer is to interview a lot of people. And with that, then, you know, the camera can go on and people could all of a sudden have a wall up. They may have wanted to discuss something, but then the camera goes on and they freeze. And so, or there's part of their story that they're kind of afraid to share, yet they want to. And so, as somebody who's an intuitive empath, you can feel like if somebody's sharing something on the surface, you're like, oh, wait, but there's something underneath there. And then, using mindfulness tools, if it's beneficial for a person to share, inviting them into a space of, with compassion that, allowing them to be comfortable to share. And so my emotional compass would often guide me in those interview settings to just really be present with the person and to hear beyond the surface of what they were saying, but feel the frequencies. And I can't tell you how many times after I did an interview where somebody would say to me, you know, I I feel like amazing now. I can't believe like I was able to share and I feel so inspired or I feel so good. Sometimes people would even ask, can I hug you? They would just feel so good in being able to being inspired to share. And that's really for me, it was just holding space and compassion, becoming a clear channel to be able to really hear what was beyond the surface of what was being said, to then asking these questions that sometimes they weren't even on my interview list of questions. They would just come through, and then next thing you know, it would just connect to that person and they would just open up their hearts to really share. And more times than not, them sharing in that way, I would then hear from people who watched the show that really they felt that in their heart and it really inspired them in some way. And so this is where, when you really learn to work with this, you just never know how many people it might be supporting and inspiring just by you holding a sacred space of compassion and really learning to understand how the emotions are a compass and how this emotional intuition is a sacred compass. So, when faced with uncertainty, really listen to the wisdom of your heart and body. And that's really what I did time and time again in reality TV when I would just make myself a clear channel, really tuning into the wisdom of the heart and tuning into this emotional intuition that's a sacred compass, and really learning to listen um, beyond the surface. You start listening to the vibrational frequencies. You start hearing in a whole nother way. And so for you, what feels aligned, what feels heavy or draining, and not in a negative judging way or blaming way or like that's just toxic way, but it's really just maybe something's come to a completion. And maybe now that heavy or draining feeling is just letting you know that something's come to a completion, something needs to be cleared and finished. And so the more that you expand your awareness and the more that you're using this wisdom as active inspiration, the more that you're going to be able to, really shift into your sovereignty and then trust that your inner knowing is always guiding you. And that's really where the power of discernment and mastering inner clarity and sovereignty really comes in, because the vibrant journey of life, the essence of discernment stands out as a beacon that guides us toward authentic choices and profound understanding. Years ago when I was probably maybe in my early 30s, I had been working with this energy practitioner for years where I was training under, learning just different energy techniques from her. And we would often talk about judgment versus discernment, and she would say, you want to utilize discernment and not because sometimes people get really like, oh, don't judge, but you want to use discernment in terms of understanding choices, and as opposed to judging where you might be judging something and it might be negative. So just to bring in that difference too, where discernment is just understanding where you are in the experience and the power of choice and being discerning and just recognizing something may or may not be beneficial for you anymore, or it might be, and you then can have a choice and it deepens your wisdom, versus just judging something which could get you caught in entanglements. Um, so as we're kind of diving more into this, just spotlighting even more so this power of discernment, that it really is guiding us to authentic choices and profound understanding. It's like a beacon that's guiding us. And so this theme is really encouraging us to sharpen that inner clarity, deepen our wisdom, and navigate life with heightened self-awareness and alignment. Discernment transcends the simple act of decision making. It represents a deeper, more intuitive level of engaging with the world around us. It is an energetic practice involving perceiving the truth that lies beneath surface appearances and beyond the immediate realities of life. I can't tell you how many times when I would be interviewing somebody where I was like, I'm not even sure, like, why am I asking this question? And it was because I was perceiving a truth that lied beneath the surface of appearance that was beyond the immediate reality of life, per se. And next thing you know, that question just opened it up. And it was like a treasure chest of like just an inspiring story or something that was really profound to be shared. And so that's really then just really trusting, and understanding that energetic practice that is involves perceiving the truth that lies beneath the surface appearances and beyond the immediate realities of life. And it also doesn't mean that you understand the end game or that you have all the information. You're just having a pull on your GPS, like your intuitive GPS, to ask something, and you're making yourself a clear channel, not really knowing per se what the end result is. You're in the present moment. So, some of the key characteristics of discernment is perception of truth. Discernment allows us to see beyond illusions, recognize genuine paths and falsehoods. So, that means too that you oftentimes, can tell, like in terms of falsehoods. So, say if you ask somebody a question and they're telling you one thing, but then your solar plexus is doing a somersault and it tightens, and you're like, my truth bell just went off. And that does not really feel 100% true. Maybe some of it is, maybe some of it isn't, but that's really like because you're the discernment, you're seeing beyond the illusion and recognizing, in terms of the frequency, that one thing is being said on the surface, but something is happening completely underneath the surface. And what could happen is people might have, so say if you ask somebody if they're okay, like, are you okay? And they're like, yeah, I'm great. And meanwhile, your truth bell goes off and you're like, ooh, that does not feel good. They do not feel good. And it could be because they actually feel really sad. They might be in despair. They might be in loss and grief. And so you can feel the loss and grief and sadness. And even though they're saying that they're great, your discernment allows you to see beyond illusion and recognizing you have a perception of truth happening. Your truth bell is going off. But that doesn't mean that, if your truth bell goes off and you're getting this intuitive psychic information that you necessarily, call somebody out in it, because the thing is, for whatever reason, a person could have a protective measure up because they're feeling really vulnerable and they don't feel safe in the world right now to share, or they don't even know. A lot of times people don't even know why they feel sadness or why they feel something, and so they're trying to protect themselves. And so that's where your wisdom of intuition, you always have to ask, yourself, your higher self, soul guides, like, is this something I need to ask more about? And, when usually, like, I'll just get like a, no, and then I'll ask like, oh, be beneficial to send Reiki to situation for the highest good. And then I usually get like a, yes or no on that. Because the thing is, we're here to learn, grow, and evolve. And you have to put your oxygen mask on first before somebody else, before helping someone else. And sometimes too, the other person is for them to help themselves. And your job is just to hold sacred space of compassion and light. And whether or not they're going to accept Reiki or accept wanting more support, it's they have free will choice. And so even if you're getting a perception of truth, it's you have to really ask, what's really going on here and what is the information about, and are there any steps to take it? Sometimes I see people channeling information, and eh, sometimes it's not fully complete information, or it hasn't been grounded, or they haven't asked like the next like 10 questions that go along with it. It's like incomplete information. And so it's not right, wrong, good or bad. It's an isness, but it's really about like, using these tools and going beyond the surface to allow yourself marinate with it to connect the story dots. Okay, so then another part of the key characteristics of discernment is alignment with self. It involves understanding what is truly in harmony with our deepest values and distancing ourselves from what is not. And in terms of that, also know that with values, values can change, y'all. Values can change. What you might have valued like 2 years ago, you might have been complete with that value and now there's another value. So you might be then because we're here to learn, grow and evolve. And if you are finding yourself distancing yourself from what is not, it doesn't mean that you're doing it in a hardened way or I'm no longer interested in that. It just means out of care, love, and compassion, you might be ending with something. And you also might have loss and grief that something is completing and you're excited for something new. So just be in the caring, compassion side for you and others. Because I feel like sometimes we so just want to move on to something. And then if somebody else is still doing something we once did, we could be like, I'm just not interested in that anymore. And it's like, bring more love and kindness and compassion for ourselves and others because we're here to learn, grow, and evolve. And maybe one person is going to want to, you know, be in that type of value for the rest of their lives, and that's okay. Or maybe somebody else wants to try different things, and that's cool too. So being in curiosity and love and kindness and compassion and using mindfulness. Another key characteristic of discernment is really that deep listening to intuition. Deeply listening to intuition. I remember when I was working in television and doing these interviews, there would be a moment where I would take 3 deep breaths, making myself a clear channel, and then all of a sudden the energy would shift where it would just be this peaceful, peaceful energy. And it was so incredibly quiet, but yet sometimes there was like 50 to 100 people or even more sometimes, if depending on how big of a production you're doing. And it just was so incredibly magical that all these people could be in harmony to shift into this deep, deep stillness of peace where you are deeply listening and that you're holding this listening space for another person. Whoo! Oh my goodness. I mean, working in reality TV really taught me time and time again so much about understanding about energy and energy work and practicing mindfulness and all these different tools. It was it was in a lot of ways the perfect training ground for me, as a practitioner and so many other things. So deep listening to intuition. This practice encourages us to trust our inner voice and insights over the clamor of external influences. And the next part, in terms of key characteristics of discernment, is refined awareness. So, discernment sharpens our sensitivity to the subtle energies and the dynamics that influence our lives. But with that, you have to allow yourself the refined awareness where you have to sometimes be like, wait, what's really happening? What's really happening? And then also knowing in part of this is we're here to learn, grow, and evolve. So it doesn't mean that like you're not going to make mistakes or you might have awareness in one area, but in another area you might completely be tuned out for whatever reason. And it's not doesn't mean that you don't have abilities and psychic abilities or awareness. It's just we're here to learn, grow, and evolve, and that's completely okay. So then giving yourself that compassion and patience and just understand, you might be refining awareness in one area and that really sharpens your sensitivity to subtle energies, the dynamics that are influencing lives. And then the next month you might have another area that you see. I kind of look at it as if you ever played the game, the Trivial Pursuit game, where you get the pie, the little pie tin, and you get pieces of the pie. I kind of look at it as the pieces of the pie. Sometimes we're just working on one piece of the pie, sometimes multiple pieces of the pie, and that's completely okay. And sometimes the pie dish gets emptied again and here we go again because we're in this humaning experience. Our number one job is being human. And that's what we're here really to learn and mastering these different levels of humaning skills in terms of our mental body, our emotional body, our physical body, our spiritual body, our subtle body, our cellular body. There's a lot of aspects of being human, this humaning, and also the multidimensional, our present life, past lives, generational, things from the collective. There's wherever you are, if you work within understanding like star seeds. There's a lot of aspects here. And so, really, then bringing gentleness to work with this in terms of understanding these key characteristics of discernment. Specifically for this one is refined awareness. Okay, so the next one is self sovereignty. Self sovereignty empowers us to make choices that resonate with our personal truth rather than being swayed by others. So it can be really challenging sometimes when you're in a group and everybody's like, yes, let's do this. And you're like, yes. And then you're like, oh, but that doesn't really feel quite right for me. And I've had this happen many instances where and I'm somebody who is like, I love community. I love doing community things. I feel like I'm a cheerleader for humanity. And to me, there's nothing great like what? There's a group of people going to do something that's inspiring. Oh, yes, please. Um, Yet there have been times when, I've had to complete things where people are continuing on a path. This makes me a little bit emotional. People are continuing on a path and I'm being called to a different path. And it can be really challenging because the group is really excited about going and they're making these choices and you're like, "Oh, that's so great." And I know it would be so much fun to go with this group. But then it just doesn't really resonate with where you are in your personal truth. And so that's where you have to really really be like, "Okay, you work with how you're feeling, you recognize it, and you let yourself go on another road." And you have to still work with the feelings though. If any sadness comes up, if any kind of anything comes up, you have to work with it. And you still could be excited, but it doesn't mean that you're not going to have any loss and grief and that's completely okay, especially if these are people that you've done different things with and you've had prior experiences. For whatever reason, you might be just called to a different path, going to it, making a different choice. And that's, we're here to learn, grow, and evolve. And so it doesn't mean also that you're not going to come back around to seeing these people and doing something again with them. So self sovereignty, is a big one. Okay, so then really cultivating discernment. The process of cultivating discernment is both an art and also, my friends, it is a spiritual discipline. It requires conscious effort to foster connection with our intuitive faculties and develop the skills necessary to navigate the complexities of life. I'm going to repeat that. The process of cultivating discernment is both an art and a spiritual discipline. It requires conscious effort to foster a connection with our intuitive faculties and develop the skills necessary to navigate the complexities of life. So, to practice enhancement of discernment, one, is being intentional, approaching thoughts, words, actions with clear intentions to avoid mindless behaviors and reactions. And that doesn't mean that you're not going to have mindless behaviors and reactions. I mean, y'all, it happens. Many of you know that I live in Los Angeles and I was evacuated in January from the from the Palisade fire. And I got to tell you, like, when you go into that fight flight mode of like survival and you are processing trauma, things happen. You go into you might be beneficially disassociating, which then can create a mindless behavior on something, and then there could be like a reaction. And that's where you have to just also you have to just give your human space to be human. And then when you recognize you're in something, then you can catch yourself and support processing, clearing, and just keep bringing compassion to it. So yeah, I mean there is now we're in March and that experience happened in January. There is something just today that I realized like, wow, I was really in a traumatic state and I just realized something today. And you just love yourself through it. You just love your human through it because you recognize your human was going through something. And if you are somebody who's an intuitive empath, somebody who can feel frequencies and can feel what's going on, like the waves through the collective, a lot of times you're not even just processing your own stuff. You're also anchoring light, and also supporting then others to be inspired to process and anchor light too for themselves. So that's where you just give yourself a lot of bandwidth and a lot of compassion. And then you're using the mindfulness tools. And when you catch yourself, and then you give yourself that gratitude that, wow, I woke up, I noticed, I'm aware. Whoo, whoo. Um, okay. I did not expect to get so emotional in this, but I will say, um, currently in the uh in the Inspiring You Patreon, we are doing I'm just gonna fix the camera a bit. In the Inspiring You Patreon, we're focusing on the March energy forecast is about the awakening of the intuitive heart. And y'all, this week, we're doing practices to really awaken the intuitive heart. And whoo, I feel so good. But I mean, it is like expanding my compassion that I feel. Oh my God, it feels so good. So I don't know why I'd be surprised that I'm not I'm not, because today was so good. I mean, today's exercise, I felt like I was just like glowing afterwards. Um, so whew, all right, let's get back into it. All right, so the other thing, practicing to enhancement with discernment. One, intentional. The other thing is mindful pausing. So mindful pausing before making decisions or reacting, taking a moment to pause and reflect. This space allows for deeper connection with your intuitive wisdom. And again, what can really happen is people will get information and they're like, "Oh my God, I got it." But then they're not actually processing the information. They're not mindfully pausing, or they're not grounded with the information. They might be channeling information, but they may not be grounded. And sometimes when people are channeling and when they're not grounded, to me, they feel like a helium balloon. It just feels like a helium balloon that is out there floating in the sky, that is untethered and not grounded. It is the like, I don't know any other word for it, and I'm saying this in a discerning way, not in a judging way. It just feels like it just feels really like this floaty, like helium balloon kinda thing that feels super ungrounded. And so it could be the most amazing wisdom that comes through, but if the actual human, if the physical body is not grounded and anchored in this present physical world, the information can feel just floaty, and it kind of like makes my head feel like woozy. So that's why too, really mindfully pausing is so important before making decisions or reacting, taking a moment to pause, reflect. If you're getting downloads of wisdom, taking the space to allow for deeper connection with your intuitive wisdom, letting yourself process and ground the information. Ground the information. So then, like today, this what we're talking about right now. So this theme came in January, and then I talked about it in the beginning of February, and you know, and then I did a whole like theme breakup where I like processed the information. And then before I got on today, I looked at all the information again, and I processed it, did a meditation, did some energy work with it. Is this feel in line with what to share now? And really just taking time to do it. This is like hours and hours and hours of work. And so, yes, did I get a meditation? Information came in initially? Absolutely. That being said, though, I also sat with it for like days, weeks, and what does this really mean? And in contemplation. And then I allowed myself to come back to it again and again so that the information is grounded in the physical reality, that it's not just like out there untethered. And so letting yourself learn to use these different tools. I layer tools because, that's something that since I was a kid, the guides have really just encouraged me. Now I really understand why they've encouraged that. But mindfulness pausing is something that can really support you. So, again, before making decisions or reacting, take a moment to pause and reflect. This space allows for a deeper connection with your intuitive wisdom. Okay, so we're talking about the practices to enhance discernment. One was being intentional, second, mindful pausing, third, energy awareness. So, being mindful of where your energy is invested. Discernment involves recognizing whether your energy is nurturing growth and alignment or if it's being drained by misaligned commitments. And again, there's no judgment on it. This is discernment. It's just sometimes, when I got called to be complete with reality television, working reality television, it was really hard for me because it was my community for over 20 years. It was my friends, and a lot of my friends are like my family. And it was really I had a really hard time letting go. Even though it was finished years before I exited. I had gotten the information that I was complete with the experience and that I was like done. And I was like, I need time to process this. And so then I was given time to process it. But then, y'all, I just didn't want to let go. It was like, I was like, oh, just one more show. Let me just do one more show and then I can go. And I've been telling people for like a couple of years that I was almost done working in television. But then I was like, just one more show, just one more show, just one more show. And I was pushing the envelope and I was then I was then, oh my God, talk about putting myself in a situation. I was then getting drained by misaligned commitments. And it was, as Taylor Swift says in that one song, "It's me, I'm the problem, it's me." It was me. And in this 1 year, I got pneumonia because I was pushing myself and drained by misaligned commitments. And then I already had a level of work PTSD, but wow, I ended up being on a set where there was so much trauma that many people I walked into a set, many people were crying on this set. And there was a person that was in a full blown just meltdown rage because they hadn't slept in days and it was just combusting and it was so traumatic. I walked on set, I disassociated, like 100% disassociated. To this day, I can't even tell you what that person I went up to them and said, "Hey," I just remember saying, "Hey, is there anything I can do to help?" They turned and screamed at me. I don't even know what they screamed at me because if you've ever watched, Snoopy and Charlie Brown, that cartoon where the teacher would be like, "Wonk, wonk, wonk, wonk," that's what the person sounded like to me. To this day, I can't even tell you what the person said. I walked away from that situation, and I said to another producer as I was consoling them, saying, "I'm really sorry you're upset, you're crying. I'm sorry that we're going through this." And I said to this person, "I'm done. If I ever take another show like this, like, I'm being a jerk to myself. Like, it's me. I'm being a jerk to myself." But the thing is, though, I was being drained by misaligned commitments, and I was having a really hard time in regard to letting go of a childhood dream that had come into the physical world as a reality that I was living. And I didn't really understand in some ways, like, what does that mean for my future if I'm now at the top of the mountain as an executive producer? What do I do now? This is like my whole life. And so there's a lot there. What ended up happening though is that I became really drained by misaligned commitments. And that's why sometimes when you're looking at misaligned commitments, it's not right, wrong, good or bad. It's the isness. And the human is going through something that you have to bring compassion to because it was really, y'all, I'm so in my heart right now. I'm just so in my heart. It was really hard saying goodbye to something that was a childhood dream that I also was really naturally skilled at and good at. And I learned a lot of skills and developed skills from that. And I was also in working with a lot of dear friends too. So whoo. that heart awakening that we're doing is working. And I just still even sharing this, I still feel so good in my heart. It just feels good to share. It just feels good to share, like, my truth. And I hope that in my sharing, I hope it can support you in somehow, because I think sometimes we wanna make things so simple, but there's a complexity to it. And that if we understand more nuanced, it can really support us to move through experiences with more compassion for ourselves and others. And so, anyway, energy awareness. And I also invite you to kind of look at energy awareness from a different viewpoint, not just from like a just from black and white or a narrowed viewpoint of, of like, oh, that person's being an energy vampire. I mean, that never has really resonated with me, that term, for a lot of reasons that I'm not going to go into, but it's like there's things. It's like, you know, what are you here to learn, grow, and evolve? And how are you showing up in the situation? And your human is your responsibility. And I 100%, even though that situation on set was not, it was not a great situation, I 100% put myself in that situation. I accepted the job. I had already been getting the information and I showed up. I accepted it. And so that's where you have to look at energy awareness. In even if you are wherever you are investing your energy, you also have to know, what am I here to learn, grow, and evolve on this? And that experience for me is one of the experiences that really opened up my path of like, what is really going on here? I became so curious of like, okay, I got to roll up my sleeves and I have to understand trauma from a whole nother level, because the last couple years I have been seeing, or experiencing different things on set where people are having some sort of trauma response. And I want to go and understand that. So that's where that situation, even though it might have been, there might have been it might have been drained by misaligned commitments, it became a huge wisdom point for me. And so it wasn't like it wasn't a good situation to bring in wisdom. It propelled me not only to complete my experience in television, but it 100% propelled me to open the door to go and like, okay, I'm ready to go into a whole nother career. I don't know what the path's going to look like, but I'm ready. And I dug into my curiosity because I'm like, I need to figure out what is going on here. Why did triggers happen? What happens with trauma? How do we use tools to support in a greater way? And so that situation was one of was a life-changing moment for me. So that's why you can't look at it as right, wrong, good or bad. There's an isness to the business, and you have to dive into what is the isness of my situation and garner the wisdom from it. So with that, then practicing enhancing discernment is, one, being intentional, two, mindful pausing, three, energy awareness. The next one is emotional intuition, tuning into your emotions. They are powerful indicators of what resonates with truth and what does not. Emotional intuition acts as a sacred compass, especially in times of uncertainty. And so, really, sometimes I feel like emotions just sometimes get a really bad, just get a bad rap in terms of like, "Oh, I don't wanna have emotions," or blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, emotions, whew, the more you learn to tune into your emotions and the vibrational frequencies of them, they can give you so much information and wisdom. They are powerful indicators of what resonates with truth, like light truth, and what does not. Emotional intuition acts again and again as a sacred compass, and it can really guide you. And the other thing to enhance discernment is learning how to really protect your energy in a beneficial way, out of the energy of love, not out of fear, or fear that somebody's an energy vampire, or um fear that somebody's gonna take your energy. Because the reality is, you have free will. And so we also do live in an experience where we're sharing space for each other. And so the greatest gift that you can give your human is really learning how to do how to do energy clearing, how to clear your energy field, because there's no way that you can't go out into the world and not have some debris of energy from someone else onto your energy field. There's just no way, because I'm an energy practitioner, and it is something that I'll go out in the world and be like, "Woo, let me turn on some Reiki to clear here." And you just start to learn that, oh, as an energy alchemist, that I'm sharing space with people. Oh, this needs to be cleared. It's not right, wrong, good or bad. There's a business to the isness. And so because we share space with people, we need to learn how to then support just taking care of our energy field. And so then with protecting your energy is one, learning energy, how to clear your energy field. Also saying no to situations and relationships that may no longer be beneficial for you or are compromising your energy. So setting those healthy boundaries is essential for maintaining your energy and focus. I will also say, though, you have to look at it from a space of also with communication, because sometimes people are setting healthy boundaries and like, this is my boundary, and they become really rigid in their boundary. And then they expect everybody to, be like, okay, this is my boundary. You're supposed to respect it. And if you're not, then that's it. I'm done with you. But then that could be, then you're getting so caught in rigidity and judgment. And meanwhile, you're not recognizing that other people have healthy boundaries too. And they may feel like you're not actually respecting their boundaries. And this is where communication comes in, where you have to also expand your communication and being willing to listen to one another, or where each person is coming from. And then from there, you can decide whether or not, each of you can support one another in a healthy way that is respecting your healthy boundaries for each person. So then having some, being able to be flexible and being able to do that deep listening as well, because then that's going to bring harmony to you and your relationships. Whereas if you just say no and you have a hard, like, this is it, and rigidity, that can really affect and cause even more chaos to your situations. So I just want to bring in that nuance, because sometimes when you hear people talk about protecting their energy, they're like, this is it. And I'm like, well, yes and no, because you could also have a subconscious pattern or program where you could be saying yes to something even though you're saying no to it, and then you could become powerless in a situation. We're complicated. Being human is very complex. Being multidimensional is complex. So the more that you can just learn to use your tools, the more then you are going to support yourself. But it doesn't mean that you're not going to have moments of just confusion or being like, what is happening here? Because that's part of it. It's part of it is being able to reassess again and again, like, where am I in this reality? What is happening? What do I need to reground? And the more that you can bring in that nuanced, um, thinking, curiosity, opening your mind, and also using those mindfulness tools, and also with it, humor, really bringing in the humor. There's many times where I find myself just laughing at situations I find myself in. I'm like, being human is just awesome. So bringing in that humor when you're ready. Okay, so more examples of discernment, my friends. Discernment in action. One, professional decisions. Choosing a job that aligns not just with your career ambitions, but also with your personal values and life goals. I will say, though, again, there's a lot of gray area for this and nuance, because we still, the job systems that are created currently have really been created out of the old earth, out of patriarchal situations, many of them, not all of them, because if you are an entrepreneur and you are creating your own business in some ways, you have more aptitude to be able to, like, okay, this is how I want it done. But if you are in a corporation that was set up in like the 1920s, they're going to have certain way of doing things. Or, when I worked in the entertainment industry, there was just a moment where I realized, wow, even if it was a new production company or if it was a new network, they all had similarities to them. And I just recognized, I'm like, oh, it's because basically it's like the same people going from one to another. And it hasn't been created outside of the system that was created many, 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 many years ago. Back when, movies were silent, back when there were shows on the radio. it just basically progressed from there. And some of the some of the challenges within the system that have been broken for many years just have not been repaired, and it was just carrying on into new companies or new networks. And so on one hand, it was really interesting to see. I was like, "Oh, that's fascinating how that can happen in terms of patterns and programs, and how they can systems can just broken systems can just go to new production companies or new networks." On the other hand, though, being in that broken system when you're trying to be innovative or create a new way of being that has more harmony on set for everybody, it can be really challenging because essentially you're going against the grain of the broken system that essentially is almost like breaking people. And so the amount of energy and that you have to keep up for that, it becomes a lot because the broken system is so broken. And that was one of the things that I recognized, throughout it where I was like, wow, we are just in a it's a broken system. And so once I recognized that, I couldn't unsee it. And even though I tried, like, okay, now that I'm an executive producer, now that I'm a showrunner, I can, okay, now I have more, I can then support and control and create the culture. But it's really challenging to create a culture when you're within a production company that is operating possibly under the rules of like old earth or the patriarchy, or you also are beholden to a network that also might be operating under old earth. And so you're constantly having to support in terms of how can we bring in the fine tunement of of more unity consciousness or new earth, and how can we do it in a way that is bridging and helping people feel okay about moving in this way, even if it's something so different that they've seen. So there's a lot of elements. And I will say there were some shows that I show ran and that I executive produced that actually I felt really good about what we created, the culture that we created, and the environment that we created, that was really able to see that this could be a way that we do it, not only in the present that we were doing it, but also in the future, because you could see the innovation happening. But you have to also get all the people on board with you and supported of it. And so I'm glad I had those experiences, but I will say though, it can be also really challenging in terms of going against just old systems that are so broken, because the amount that you have to continuously bringing in the uplifting energy. But that's where you focus on also what your goal is and your intention, and you use the tools to support you in it. That being said, then with protecting your energy, it's not just about setting essential boundaries. It's also then maintaining that energy and focus. And that's where intention setting, doing energy work, meditation comes in again and again. There's many times that when I was working in TV, I was also taking classes like meditation classes or different classes, working with different energy workers or shamans to support me in maintaining clearing and also maintaining grounded alignment and keeping to whatever my focus was in regard to my goal. And a lot of times, my goal always was, how do we maintain beneficial harmony, not only on set, but also for people coming on set? And how can we support in terms of a beneficial aspect of working together as a community for the highest good for everyone, really bringing in the energy of collaboration for the highest good for everybody. And also, how can we also enjoy the process of working and living in this working environment together for the highest good. And that's where then working with teachers really helped me maintain as well, because I could talk about, some of the challenges that we were having. How can we clear the energy? How can then we reset? And I would feel revitalized, reinvigorated in maintaining energy and focus in the goal. And I was able to go back in. Okay. So that's where then the examples of discernment in action, professional decisions, where in terms of choosing a job that aligns, there are a lot of nuances within it, as I just mentioned. Okay, relationships. Examples of discernment in action with relationships, deciding to spend time with people who uplift and support you rather than those who drain your energy. Again, that's also going to be with, I say with discernment, because there's some people who may just need your help, where maybe they're caught in some sort of vicious cycle of negativity, and you come along and you're like, woo, they are caught in a tornado of vicious negative energy. Hole mamole. And so then your job, maybe as a being, might be just to anchor light in, and with it, I would send Reiki to the situation for the highest good if they wish to see it for the highest good. And then, if they choose to, it might support them, and then clearing and coming out of that tornado to reground, realign, and then have an aha moment like, wow, I just realized I was just caught in something. That being said, though, what also could happen is that somebody is caught in a pattern program of just constant negativity, and just doesn't really want to learn, grow, and evolve, and they just really like their comfortable position of this way of being caught in this negative tornado. And so you can, with kindness and compassion, recognize this. And then, if this person, doesn't really want any support or help, and they just want to have a place where they're constantly just, you know, in this negative like tornado, you have a choice. There are people that, for me in my life and my relationships, like there are people like my relationship with certain family members where, they may be caught in some things, but I understand the value of the relationship. And so I just use different tools to support me through it. I also put different time stamps on things where I know that, like, if I'm gonna call someone, I know, like, okay, I'm gonna spend, 10 minutes on the phone. I also know that if their tone changes, that the tone change that's gonna start going into that kinda negative spin, I know that it's time for me to get off the phone. Or if I'm with them in person and I hear that tone change, then I'll say like, "Oh, wait a minute, I'm just gonna go to the bathroom." I let myself release from the situation, go to the bathroom to wash my hands, reground, realign, so that way then I can come back into the situation. And oftentimes by the time you come back into a situation, the energy has a chance to shift. So I become really aware of just listening to the frequencies. And then I have like little, I call them yellow Post-it notes in my back pocket of like, okay, what do I need to do now? I hear a tone change. I hear this. And that's how it supports me in taking care of myself, and then also taking care of the relationships that I'm in. That being said, though, if there are relationships that have come to a completion that are just really not beneficial for you at all, then, and it's just completely leaving you wiped and drained again and again, then you want to use discernment of like, okay, what is the wisdom? Has this relationship come to a completion? Also, too, why are you staying in the relationship? What is it really bringing you? Do you feel guilty? You don't want to leave the relationship because you feel guilty? Do you feel like, indebted to stay in the relationship? You just want to kind of look at things like that. Also, then personal growth. Examples of discernment in action, personal growth, opting to engage in activities that nurture your soul, contribute to your growth instead of following trends that don't resonate with you. So then those are just some of the examples of it. So navigating challenges with discernment. So as we embrace the energy of reinvention, discernment becomes our ally against the fear of the unknown. It provides us with tools to confidently approach new beginnings, armed with wisdom of our experiences and the clarity of inner truth. By integrating these practices and insights, discernment becomes more than a skill. It evolves into a way of being, a transformative approach that empowers us to live with authenticity and purpose. So, as we journey through the rest of the year and the years to come, you want to use discernment as a guide to your choices and actions, ensuring that each step we take is infused with intention, wisdom, and genuine self alignment. I will also say for me, there are many years in terms of the energy practitioners and shamans that I worked with that I would go work with them like once or twice a month. And I would literally say everything I did in that month, like, "This is what happened, this is what happened," and then I would take responsibility for, like, my actions, and I'd be like, "Oh, that's uncomfortable seeing that." It was not exactly a most comfortable experience a lot of times because I had to really become accountable for my actions, and I had to see how I was moving myself around the same mulberry bush again and again, and I would catch myself, and it was hard the first couple years, but I will say that that practice alone is probably one of the best practices that I've did for my human because it wasn't about blaming or it was not about pushing the blame on anyone else. It was 100% about recognizing where I was putting my human in, what was the wisdom on it, what am I learning, growing, and evolving, what's really happening here, what's really happening here, and really looking beyond the surface of the reality of what truly is happening here, what my higher self soul is trying to guide me on, where my human was at. And I also could recognize then where I was getting caught in personal, collective, or ancestors, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, or past lives. And it really allowed me just to develop this self-awareness that I still am like so grateful for because it is such a skill that I use again and again and again, not only for myself, but also, in working with clients too, where you develop the skill to kind of see what's really happening. And because I took the time with these practitioners to really take apart what I was doing in the entire month, and which was not easy. Sometimes it was like 3 or 4 hours in terms of the session of taking apart everything that was going on and then bringing in the wisdom. And then from there afterwards, we would do like a 30-minute energy clearing session, and I'd feel amazing afterwards. But it was hardcore the first couple years, but then I'm now like, wow, that was really probably one of the most beneficial things that I was called to do to help my human. So that's where then, really letting yourself journal and investigate. Taking the time to investigate is really going to help your future self and will help your present self and also will help your past self in terms of come to completion with things. All right. So with that, then let's talk about reinvention, energetic sovereignty with discernment because this year and specifically last month was really carrying the energy of creative chaos last month in February, the cycles of destruction and reinvention that were at play, creating space for new. So rather than resisting this energy, because we're still in the transformative energies, y'all. So rather than resisting this energy, you want to let it illuminate what is ready to be completed. You want to let it illuminate what is ready to be completed. What in your life is asking to be released? What in your life is asking to be released? And not just on the surface, y'all, like for realsies. What outdated patterns, beliefs, or obligations are no longer aligned with your path? Whoo, y'all. That's a big one. What outdated patterns, beliefs, obligations are no longer aligned with your path? Where are you being invited to step into something new? Where are you being invited to step into something new? If emotions feel unsettled or external noise feels overwhelming, discernment is your anchor. Discernment is your anchor. So then what aligns with your highest path? What aligns with your highest path? What is draining your energy? And what is the wisdom of that too? What ignites your inspiration? What ignites your inspiration? Rather than being pulled into negativity, confusion, or fear, use discernment as a tool of empowerment. Turn towards beauty, inspiration, and your own creative power. Surround yourself with clarity, not chaos. And if there is chaos, let yourself use your tools through it and just know sometimes through chaos and destruction comes the greatest creativity because then you're having awareness come in and you might be downloaded with something that you're being called to. Make choices that support your energy, not deplete it. And if you are getting depleted, then use your energy tools to clear the depletion and rejuvenate because you are an energy alchemist. You are an energy alchemist. Remember, if your energy is depleted, you can always replenish it. You can always replenish it. Just yesterday, I did how many sessions did I do yesterday for private sessions? Yesterday I had 6 private sessions. Today I heard from all of them They all were like, various ways, like, "I feel so relaxed. Oh my god, I'm so rejuvenated. I can't believe how much energy I have. I felt really stuck, and now I can't tell you, just from that one session, I can't tell you how I just feel so inspired and motivated." Energy can transform. So last month and going into the rest of this year, it's an invitation to walk forward with greater self-awareness, deepen trust in your inner own knowing, have the courage to honor what feels right for you. And even if you feel confused, y'all, honor that as well, and just know, take some deep breaths. It's all okay, because eventually the confusion will clear, and you will see the path. Situations might happen along the way, and even in those situations that happen, it can really also be guiding you for your highest good too. Because like I mentioned, I had a situation working on set where it was difficult, and I disassociated because of the trauma happening on set. But wow, that that situation became one of the few situations that I was like, "What is going on here with trauma? And why are we pretending it's not happening?" Which, because ironically, by the way, on that show, there were 2 therapists on the show. There was a on-camera therapist and an off-camera therapist. Both therapists were present for that experience. Not one of them stepped in. Not one of them stepped in to help the person who was going through the situation or anyone else. And it really struck me. I'm like, why are we staying stuck and paralyzed and frozen, and we're not actually focusing on helping situations that have trauma? Why are we not recognizing this, and why are we just going on pretending it didn't happen, and meanwhile people's nervous systems are shaken? Like, what is happening here? What is going on? And it opened me up to curiosity so much so that I've taken many trauma informed practitioner courses now, because I was like, I'm going to study trauma, and I'm going to understand every aspect in regard to the physical body that is out in terms of the progression of the information. And wow, see, sometimes situations happen because it gives you your greater yes moving forward in terms of the path of the clarity, and it helps you along the way. So, with that, then, really understanding then this year is like walking forward with that greater awareness, deepen your trust in your own knowing, having the courage to honor what feels really right for you. Embracing discernment, you cultivate energetic sovereignty, allowing your energy to become a beacon of light and alignment in all that you do. So, how to integrate this theme? One, daily check ins, each morning or evening, placing a hand on your heart and asking, where is my energy flowing today? Where is my energy flowing today? What do I need to shift or release to stay in alignment? What do I need to shift or release to stay in alignment? And then also the yes or no body practice. Before making a decision, close your eyes, breathe deeply, and ask, does this feel like a yes in my body, or does this feel like a no? Does this feel like a yes in my body, or does it feel like a no? Oftentimes, people will get a no where their body goes back, like it's a no because your body's going back. Whereas if it's a yes, your body's going towards. But you have to see what your body does in regard to a yes or no. And then another question is, does this choice expand my energy or contract it? Does this choice expand my energy or contract it? But just remember, it's not black and white. There's nuances, because sometimes even if something's contracting your energy, there might be wisdom there for you to learn. And so, that's why you can't get so rigid about it as well. We're here to learn, grow, and evolve. Okay, also how to integrate this theme: energy clearing and protection, doing energy work, Reiki dusting energy work, whatever you do for energy work, doing somatic experience, mindfulness, meditation, sound healing, taking salt baths to clear stagnant energy can help as well. Um, Doing energy clearing in your space to reset your space, surrounding yourself with people that do uplift you as well. Then here are some journal prompts to help you even further reflect, where in my life do I need to practice greater discernment? So these are journal prompts that help you reflect on discernment. How Discernment plays a role in your life and guide toward greater clarity and alignment. So, where in my life do I need to practice greater discernment? Are there any external influences, news, social media, opinions of others that impact my choices more than they should? I don't know about y'all, but coming into this new year, being in the United States, I have found myself pulling way back on social media, like way back, way back, way back, way back. And a lot of it has to do with there's so much going on right now. And so I recognized, oh, I need to just pull myself back. And I'm finding myself going more towards YouTube, my podcast, and Inspiring You Patreon, where in those areas I can create more containment of just being in, the light energy and so I'm being very discerning about when I go on to social media. There are on my Instagram, I have several friend groups that we we will share like uplifting videos with each other. So I really just go on there now to like check what's going on there, to have connection with these friend groups that I enjoy being in. And if it wasn't for these friend groups, I probably would be I would probably be pausing social media for a while for myself. That being said, though, you just use discernment and you just kind of find your way through it. But also knowing like you have to take the temperature of what's going on now and where you are in this experience. Okay, another journal question is, when I make a decision, do I listen to my intuition or do I seek validation from others? So when I make a decision, do I listen to my intuition or do I seek validation from others? Another one is, have I ever ignored my intuition and later realized it was right? Have I ever ignored my intuition and later realized it was right? What did I learn from that experience? I have several I have several things that came to mind that. So have you ever ignored your intuition and later realized it was right? What did I learn from that experience? Um just recently I was doing the energy forecast and one of my guides came in. Jesus is one of my guides and he was like he said I had the microphone set up and he said your microphone isn't actually connected to Zoom. So you're right now just on the computer mic. And I literally said, in my intuitive telepathic conversation with him, I said, "No, you're not right. It went. It's on." and then and then as I'm going through it, all of a sudden I was like, "Oh, I think is he right?" And then I checked. Oh, yeah, he's totally right. He was totally right, and so it's like, your intuition, your guides are trying to help you, and it was just really funny because I just talked about I was doing a live class, and I said, "Oh, this just happened," and what did I learn from that? I mean, you're humaning. What I learned from that is I had already set everything up on my computer, and in the past it just automatically on Zoom, it automatically goes to Rodecaster Pro Stereo for me. And so I've done this so many times on Zoom that it just automatically goes. And so I was autopiloting where I was like, no, it automatically goes. And there was a whole iOS update that happened. And there was an Zoom update that I hadn't done or hadn't known about. And so there was some wires that got crossed and so then my guides were trying to help me out to let me know. And meanwhile, I was on autopilot in that experience from past experiences, like it just automatically goes. And then because the information was brought forward, and I was like, no, you're not right on that. And then as I sat with it, I connected to my intuition. And then my intuition was like, oh, yeah, it's not. Because you on Zoom, you actually can't tell. You can't tell if it's not echoing to you. You can't tell until you actually check what it's on. So I learned like, "Oh, huh, why is this happening?" And then after the class, I did some investigation and I found that There was a Zoom update that had come out because of the new iOS update that I hadn't known about, and so now that's that. The updates happen. So I you just learn, grow, and evolve, and you find humor with it. So, all right, the next question is what practices help me cultivate clarity and tune into my inner knowing? So for me, mindfulness, meditation, energy work, Reiki, dowsing energy work, somatic, tools, a lot of different things. But what practices help you cultivate clarity and tune into your inner knowing? And then another question is, how do I feel after spending time with certain people or consuming certain types of content? Does it uplift me or how am I feeling? And then the next one is, what small conscious choices can I make this month to strengthen my discernment? So those are the journal questions. I will put them in the show notes so you can take some time with them. You can always pause and come back and listen to the questions as well. And then here are some intentions and affirmations for this energy theme. I intend to trust my discernment and inner knowing. I intend to trust my discernment and inner knowing. I choose to align with clarity, truth, and integrity. I choose to align with clarity, truth, and integrity. I commit to protecting my energy and making empowered choices. I commit to protecting my energy and really out of the energy of love, not fear. I commit to protecting my energy and making empowered choices. I honor the wisdom of my heart and body. I honor the wisdom of my heart and body. Okay, then, this was February, but this is really for the anytime, this theme, but I am gonna talk about the astrological influence and energy theme connection, because if you do journaling, you can also see what was happening for you during that time. All right, so for the Sun conjunct Mercury in Aquarius, February 9th, this connects to this energy theme connection for February. It was a surge of clarity, innovation, perfecting the aspect of refining choices. And then also Leo full moon was February 12th. It was a time of personal empowerment, trusting your inner light. And then Pisces new moon, February 27th, a portal of spiritual renewal, listening to your higher wisdom. So that was the energy theme connections that then support coming into this month and the rest of the year. All right. So that is the mindful talk on it. We're now going to do a closing meditation and a little bit of a visualization. So close your eyes, lower your gaze, and take a nice deep breath. Take another deep breath. All right, now let yourself imagine, sense, visualize beautiful light infused with Reiki energy healing. If you wish to receive for the highest good, Reiki respects free will. This beautiful light comes in, moving through you, around you. This light represents your discernment, clarity, and sovereignty. And with each inhale, you draw in trust, wisdom, and truth. With each exhale, you release confusion, doubt, and external noise. Letting yourself inhale again, drawing in trust, wisdom, and truth. Exhaling, you release confusion, doubt, and external noise. Again, inhaling, exhaling. And then affirm these if they resonate with you silently. I trust my inner knowing. I trust my inner knowing. I trust my inner knowing. I choose clarity over illusion. I choose clarity over illusion. I choose clarity over illusion. I walk forward in alignment. I walk forward in alignment. Take another deep breath. All right. So before we finally complete this, let's just delink or break the links. So say this after me if it resonates with you. I asked to break the links with this mindful chat, with this Reiki session. I asked to break the links, leaving only harmony and balance at either ends. I asked to clear any residual energies being held in my body as a result of these links. I ask that light fill the void, cells, rejuvenates, refreshes, revitalizes for my highest good with ease and grace. And so it is. And if I went too fast, you can just say ditto if it resonates. And I ask this healing to be sealed with love and light. I ask this healing to be sealed with love and light. I ask this healing to be sealed with love and light. And so it is. All right, take another deep breath. And then bring awareness behind your eyes and slowly open your eyes and welcome back. You're exactly where you need to be, my friends. So thank you for sharing this space with me. Much, much love. Until soon, and